Hey everybody, Jeremy Gerard from Mythic Customs here with one of my short customizing tutorial videos. Today's video, I actually want to talk a little bit about cosmic legions and cosmic customs. If you've been following my channel here on YouTube, you certainly know that I've been doing quite a bit of cosmic legions related content, specifically on my weekly Mythic Conversation show. It makes sense. Cosmic Legions is a huge new line from Four Horsemen Studios. If you are a Legions collector, if you're a Legions customizer, this is certainly something that you're probably very excited about. Certainly, I'm very excited about it. One of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about in this video was planning for Cosmic Legions, and specifically starting to look at possible fodder that we can collect for Mythic Legions, or for Cosmic Legions, I should say. Because the reality is we're not going to have Cosmic Legions in hand for quite some time. This is a brand new line with brand new tooling needs. It's going to take a little while for these to actually get produced and get in hand. So if we start thinking now about the kinds of fodder pieces that we may want to use in potential future customs, we have a lot of time to do that. We can check out toy shows, we can look for deals on eBay, all different places that we might be able to find some really, really cool stuff. But I think that starts with thinking about the kinds of lines that we can look at, right? So if we think about Mythic Legions, if you've followed my videos, I've talked quite a bit about the fodder pieces that I've used over the years for Mythic Legions. Some of them are super obvious and common. Things like Toy Biz's Lord of the Rings line. I've obviously used the Toy Biz Lord of the Rings line extensively in my customs. Masters of the Universe classics. Not so much the bodies, but definitely early on in my customizing kind of hobby, I used a lot of those Masters Classics heads. I've used articulated icons from the Fwoosh. I've used pieces from a variety of other lines. When we think about Cosmic, it opens up a whole new world of fodder to us, right? Because it's a whole different kind of tone. Instead of, swords and sandals, sorcery and knights and things like that, we're talking science fiction. And one of the cool things about science fiction is it's such a vast universe out there. There's so much that we can do. If we look at this first line of Cosmic Legions, Valkatar Book 1, it's just a very focused group of characters. It's a very small slice of the story. So we're seeing, even in that line, a variety of alien races. But when we think alien, we can get as crazy as we want. So we have a lot of stuff that we can play around with from other toy lines. So I want to look at some of those today. Now, first things first, if you checked out my recent Mythic Conversations, the one, episode 61, where I actually had on some fellow customizers, we did some Cosmic Customs. Part of a really cool project in partnership with Four Horsemen Studios. We actually got access to some early prototype Cosmic Legions pieces, so we could put together some customs. And you check that out, you want to get some inspiration about some possibilities. But this figure that I have here, this is my kind of cyber gunslinger I did. It uses body pieces from a Mythic Legions Magnus with this torso piece here, that the one that you see on the Tusk Sentry and the Tusk Science Officer. The reason I'm showing this is just to get a sense of size. These 1.0 parts fit with Mythic Legions perfectly. So even though we don't have Cosmic in hand yet, we can get a sense for how these figures are going to stack up, what their sizes are going to be. That's going to be really, really important when we start thinking about potential fodder. So the size of Mythic Legions is by and large going to be the size of Cosmic Legions. Most of the figures in the Cosmic Legions Valkatar Book 1 line would be considered 1.0 figures. The Sphexian bug characters, even though they have kind of a distinct body shape to them, the way that they're positioned almost hunched over, those are 1.0 sized parts. Both of the Thygars are 1.0, and as I just mentioned, the Tusk Science Officer and the Tusk Sentry, as well as Vorga. Those are all 1.0 parts. 2.0, we've got Zeri, we've got the Tusk Engineer, and then there are the two other sizes, right? There's Kragnar, that's Ogre scale, and then there is Slog, it's a brand new scale, unlike anything we've seen. So 1.0 size figures, that's most of them. That's going to be just like we have here. Standard size of Mythic Legions, Magnus, the Knights, a lot of that stuff. So when we think about fodder pieces, the first thing that you're probably going to think about is like Star Wars, right? Think about science fiction action figures. Certainly Star Wars comes to mind, specifically Star Wars Black Series. So that's that, 6-inch line. I've always found Black Series to be a little small when compared to Mythic Legions. If you see them here, Boba Fett stands a little bit shorter than Magnus. Doesn't mean you can't integrate pieces from Star Wars Black Series, but they are going to be a little bit smaller, almost like the 2.0 size figures of Mythic and Cosmic. My challenge with Star Wars is it is so distinctive as is. I mean, Boba Fett is Boba Fett. It doesn't really matter what you do with him. He's going to have that iconic look. Darth Vader, Stormtroopers, those characters are so iconic that I would personally be hesitant to want to use those in Cosmic Customs. For the same reason that when I use Lord of the Rings pieces in Mythic Customs, I'll use weapons, I'll use capes and skirts, but I never use heads. Never ever use heads because they're too distinctive. When I look at a Legolas head, all I see is the Orlando Bloom character. So I can't bring that into Mythic Legions and suspend that, that belief so that it's a different character. For me, Star Wars is going to be really, really similar. On that note, there is another Star Wars line I'll mention. These are the figures by Bandai, the ones that are much more samurai inspired. They actually stand a bit taller, so they are really, really close to the size of Mythic Legions. These type of figures, they've got a bit of a distinctive style. It's still clearly, you look at this, you still clearly see Boba Fett in there. But some of these things, especially if you want to go with kind of like a cosmic, like samurai type character, some of these parts may actually work really, really well, especially if you don't maybe use the heads, but use some of the body pieces because they are somewhat stylized already. These may be some cool pieces that you can use there. Another line we'll look at is Mezco. So Mezco's 112 collective line, they obviously do a lot of licensed IP. They do a lot of Marvel and DC and so forth, but they also have a number of their own characters, their in-house IP, Rumble Society. So this character right here, this is a Baron Benz. This is the black Teutonic variant. Very futuristic looking, is not such a distinctive character the way that Darth Vader or Boba Fett would be, that you can only imagine it as that character. So I would say that pieces from the Mezco line definitely could be things you could integrate. Doesn't have to be the whole bodies, because Mezco are clearly known for their soft goods costumes. So if you're not really into soft goods, the Cosmic Legions line has some soft goods. Zeri's got that cloak on, but by and large, they're not wearing soft goods costumes. So you may feel like Mezco doesn't fit exactly, but some of the pieces, like some of the heads or some of the weapons, those totally might be things that you can integrate into Cosmic Legions. And the great thing is if you are a Mezco collector, they come with multiple heads. You can only display one head at a time. So you might actually have some of these already tucked away that you can put to use in some of your customs already. Additionally, because Mezco come with so many pieces, there are a lot of people that part them out. So there are a lot of times where you can buy just the heads or just the weapons and things like that, if you don't want to drop the money on the full figures, because Mezco figures are certainly not cheap. Next one I want to look at is an oldie but a goodie. So one of the lines I love to integrate into Mythic Customs are old Spawn figures. Specifically, there are some Spawn lines like the Spawn Dark Ages, the Spawn Viking Age that work really, really well. Weapons, different skirt pieces and armor pieces, those add a super cool element to Mythic Legions. Well, the thing with Spawn is Spawn, it traveled a number of ages. They have that original McFarlane Toys line touched on a number of different genres. And there's a lot of really cool vintage Spawn figures that are totally inappropriate for Mythic Legions, but would look great with Cosmic Legions. So this is a character that came out many, many years ago. I've actually had him in my collection ever since he first came out. Used to be a huge, huge Spawn collector. It's actually how I first got introduced to the work of Four Horsemen Studios. This is a character called Cyberspawn. It's super, super robotic looking character. Just really, really crazy design. I don't know how I would use this in a custom at this point, but it's got so many pieces that could be integrated, whether it's these hoses, whether it's these big giant clonking feet. There's a lot of cool stuff that we could do. And the thing is, Spawn figures, old McFarlane Spawn figures, these are the type of things that you absolutely can find at like toy shows in, below the table in bins, super, super cheap. Stuff like Star Wars Black Series, like Mezco, those are more expensive figures. You're not going to probably stumble into a toy show and see a bunch of Mezcos under the table for like $3 each. These you absolutely can. So old Spawn figures, you look up old lots of McFarlane toy Spawn figures, even if they're broken and stuff, you're looking at them for fodder. So this is one line that is if you take nothing else away from this video, old Spawn figures, I think, are going to be a wealth of fodder parts as we start looking at Cosmic Legions. Another line or series of lines I'll mention is the stuff that NECA is doing. So I've got a NECA Predator here. I've seen some people try to fudge Predator into cosmic displays, or excuse me, I should say mythic displays. Obviously, there's a futuristic aspect to the Predator. This particular one, which is like their anniversary one, this is the one that I think is the least futuristic. His armor's all bone and stuff because he's supposed to be like an original Predator. A lot of the other ones that have the shoulder-mounted cannons and the wrist gauntlets with the blades and stuff, they are futuristic. That I think is going to work great for Cosmic Legions. Now, Predators, again, like I was mentioning with Star Wars, very distinctive. Aliens, very, very distinctive. So you're going to have to decide exactly how much you want to integrate that. But outside of Predator, NECA does a lot of different lines that I think could provide some fuel. So I'm not a gamer, so I don't play Halo, I don't play Mass Effect or any of that stuff. As such, I don't have any of those figures. It's not a property that I have any connection to. However, I've seen those figure designs and they look cool. If you're looking for that type of space marine type character, that can absolutely provide some fodder for you, because that's certainly one of the questions or one of the comments I saw some people make about Cosmic Legions. A lot of people expected there to be space marines because, look, that's what we've become accustomed to, right? I mentioned this recently on an episode of Legions Cast, that so much science fiction falls into one of two buckets. Either aliens come to Earth and the humans have to defend, or humans go to space and they encounter some kind of alien life form and, they have to protect themselves. At the end of the day, those are the two tropes we see so frequently. So we're used to seeing, human beings in spacesuits, space marine type characters. We didn't get that in Cosmic Legions, but they're super, super easy to do. Again, back to that Magnus piece that I did here. This uses a lot of mythic parts because it's what I had to work with. But if you can imagine, if this was a full Cosmic Legions like Tusk Sentry, just popping the head off and popping a Magnus head on, or literally any of the unhelmeted Mythic Legions head, or some of the cool third-party heads, any of those, and you'll be able to create those Space Marine type characters. Similarly, if you want to outfit them differently, looking at some of that NECA stuff like Mass Effect and Halo and all those different things. I don't think NECA does Halo, but different stuff like that. That whole genre of Space Marine armored suit type characters, I think that there's a lot of possibilities there as well. Now, two other lines I want to look at right now that I don't think are going to be a fit. One of them is Marvel Legends. Marvel Legends is a huge, expansive line. There's certainly some figures in the line that I imagine will be able to provide some fodder pieces. Because the line is so varied and they're covering such a wide variety of character designs, there's clearly different size characters in there. Everything from, a regular size figure here to the giant HasLab Sentinel that's shipping that's just massive. A huge variety. But if we look at the standard Marvel Legends figures, similar to Black Series, where I think they're maybe a bit small for Mythic Legions or for Cosmic Legions. So you might be able to work with them. The great thing about Marvel Legends is they're not expensive figures. They retail for $20 to $25, and a lot of times shortly after the release comes out, a lot of them hit clearance on like Amazon. So a lot of times you can get fodder pieces for Marvel Legends fairly inexpensively. There's also a lot of people that buy a whole wave to get the Build-A-Figure and then end up with figures they don't want. That could be possible fodder as well. Similar note there is G.I. Joe Classified. G.I. Joe Classified, very distinctive character designs. Once again, Firefly is Firefly, Cobra Commander is Cobra Commander, but they're doing so much variety. And G.I. Joe got kind of crazy at some points, right? G.I. Joe went to space at some point. So it is not out of the realm of possibility that we are going to get some G.I. Joe in spacesuit type characters. Those are absolutely figures that you might be able to integrate into your Cosmic Legions. Mentioned NECA a few minutes ago. I mentioned Alien. I should also mention there's actually a whole bunch of Alien figures from kind of like the original movie where it's like, Ripley and the different, members of that ship in spacesuits. So those spacesuit type characters already exist as well. I'm already seeing some people use those with like Mythic Legion skeleton heads to make undead astronauts. So a lot of possibilities. And these are just scratching the surface, right? These are just some figures that I had lying around in my collection. My collection is predominantly Mythic Legions, but I do have a handful of other things lying around. And just before this video, I kind of looked around because I wanted to talk about this topic. And I looked around and said, hey, what other things do I have here that may fit? And these are just scratching the surface. Masters of the Universe, right? So I talked about using Masters in some of my early Mythic Legions customs. Well, Masters has always been a line that bridges that gap between technology and fantasy. You have characters like Trapjaw who have pieces that would absolutely be wonderful when combined with Cosmic Legions. Whether you're talking Masters Classics, whether you're talking, 2000X, there's a lot of different lines out there just for Masters of the Universe that you could integrate. So tons of possibilities. But now's the time to start thinking about this. Now's the time to start looking for deals, looking for fodder, getting those things ready. So when Cosmic Legions does ship, you've got all these cool pieces to make some awesome Cosmic customs. Of course, should also mention that Cosmic Legions themselves are available for pre-order right now, or at least they are as I'm recording and posting this video. Those are available at storehorseman.com. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy content like this, certainly let me know. Give the video a like. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, help me out. Subscribe to the channel. Until next time, as I always say, I can't wait to see what you make.